Abigail Chapman. And Abigail's going to talk to us about some things on her heart, but I thought we would let her introduce herself and then we'll get started.
All right, well, my name is Abigail. I am a mom to 4 kids. And of course, my husband works in Anderson, South Carolina. We live in Greenville. And I homeschool 3 of my 4 kids. Next year, I will have all 4 in school, which I'm really excited about. My kids are in 5th, 4th, and 2nd grade. So we've been homeschooling for 6 years now.
Did you start in kindergarten with your first one?
We did. We started using BJU Press in kindergarten and have stuck with it.
Wow, that's fantastic. So many people may have noticed last week there was some weather coming through South Carolina. We actually did have a tornado here, and it was actually pretty close to where you all are. Did that come
street over from us? It missed us by 1 street.
Wow. Well, praise the Lord. Everybody's okay. And I think everybody said what I saw on the news. Nobody was actually seriously hurt. Is that correct?
No, thankfully. We had a few friends and neighbors have a lot of damage, but thankfully no one was injured.
Wow, it's pretty amazing how that happens. And God was very gracious in that regard. So I don't remember so many of these things happening in South Carolina all at one time, but in any event, well, we're going to talk today about what homeschooling looks like. You know, there's a lot of memes and conversations about homeschooling, pandemic homeschooling, quarantine homeschooling, and Abigail had put something on her Facebook page maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago about this is not really what homeschooling looks like. And I thought for many people, they've never really looked at what homeschooling looks like. There's a lot of stereotypes or things that people may have thought about homeschooling. What I knew about homeschooling was back in the 90s, you know, so 10 years ago when I started becoming involved in the homeschooling movement, my perceptions were not accurate or up to date. The people that I see at conventions now are not necessarily the same group of people I saw 10 years ago. So homeschooling is a movement and it continues to grow and evolve and expand. And now we're going to have some new people in homeschooling that when this pandemic is over, probably will stay homeschooling. And that'll change the color of what we're doing as well. So I thought maybe you could just share your heart on what homeschooling has looked like for your family. And of course, it's going to be different from family to family and from region to region. But generally speaking, what does homeschooling typically look like? What does it look like now for your family and for people coming in for the first time? And then also when this is over, will any of that change? So I'm going to leave it to you and let you share your heart on that.
Well, I will say, I'll start with what is the same. What's the same for us is doing school every day, sitting down at our desks, logging in, getting our schoolwork done. That's the same for us, which is great because so many of my friends, their world is turned upside down, trying to figure out how to do distance schooling, and the actual educational portion of school where we sit down and open our books is the same. And I'm really thankful. It made our life easier. So in that way, our day-to-day is very similar. But there's a lot that we don't get to do right now that we usually get to do. Usually libraries are deserted during the day, and all of us homeschoolers converge on the libraries then when it's quiet and we can get to what we need to get to. We can do school at the library. There are groups that meet up at the library once or twice a month, and we just do school together. And the moms get to talk and strategize about what's not working in their school day, where their student might need help, and the kids get to do schoolwork together, and the kids help each other. So we don't get to do that right now. We don't get to go to the park during the day, which I miss. We're missing out on music lessons, which you can do your regular music lessons like any student can do, but there's a lot of homeschool band groups and choir groups and those kind of things that are not meeting right now. There's even there are even homeschool gym classes and karate classes and those kind of things that meet during the school day that are not meeting right now. So all of our extracurriculars are canceled. And that's one of the great advantages of homeschooling is you could work those extracurriculars into your schedule when you want it. And if you want to do it at 2:00 as opposed to after dinner time, you can. And those kind of things are really missing from our homeschool days these days.
I think, a lot of those people who are, I don't want to say forced into being homeschooled right now, but people who were not prepared to homeschool and suddenly were, probably their kids did extracurricular things too. But the difference in some of this is that homeschool community, that we all have our own communities, our town communities, our neighborhoods, our friends, wherever they are. But that community of what you said about the kids helping each other, that special time at the library where you guys have that sense of homeschooling camaraderie. These parents who are now homeschooling freshly out of nowhere don't have that. They're independent of each other.
Right. And that's one thing I still have, although from a distance, I haven't, 100% lost it, but there is that support network that you need in order to homeschool. And, there's co-ops that meet every week, and then the parents have a built-in support network with that, which they're missing, but they still have that support network from afar now.
Right.
Meeting in person.
So for somebody then who's watching and has had their kids in different school and they're doing the distance schooling, and they're pondering, well, I send my child back to school. This is something to consider, that if you do homeschool after this, there's another method to this. And this is what the homeschooling community enjoys, is that camaraderie, is that support. And so if you find yourself homeschooling because of the pandemic, and you're interested in homeschooling, please know that there are support groups, there are co-ops, there are homeschooling families who are very welcoming and want to support you and have you become part of the community. So don't feel like you're going to be on your own schooling your child in solidarity unless that's something you want. You have options, and there are people who have been homeschooling a long time who are willing to come alongside you and kind of show you the joy of homeschooling, all the positive parts of it that you've not enjoyed yet.
Right. And I think there might be some who misunderstand the solitude that we are all working in right now and think, oh, is that what it's like all the time? And it's not at all like that. It's very much a community. You see people all the time. We're out and about all the time. So it's not the same. It's not stuck at home every day. If you don't want to be at home, don't be at home. Go do school somewhere else, or take a big long break, put the books down and go to the park. And that kind of solitude just doesn't exist in our regular day-to-day life generally.
And another thing that you mentioned too, they're also being asked to follow a curriculum that's not their choice. Mm-hmm. Someone else is planning the lessons and checking the work, and you're following a teacher or a school's set pattern of what's going on, where a homeschool parent has options. So maybe you can talk to that a little bit. As a homeschooling parent, outside of the emergency situation where you're given a curriculum and told what to do and how to do it, what is it like outside of that for homeschoolers?
Right. Well, I'll just compare from what I've heard. Some friends talk about what they're struggling with compared to what our regular thing is. And, some have talked about how I have 3 different teachers that I'm dealing with, and my child has an IEP I have to keep up with, and like lists of 6 to 7 emails a day per kid. If you have multiple children, that is a lot of other teachers to keep up with, and schoolwork, and you have to try and figure out how to manage and fit it all in one day. And when you homeschool, you call the shots. I mean, yes, I have a great curriculum. I love my curriculum, but I'm still in charge of it. And when my student is struggling, I don't have to keep pushing them ahead. We can stop. We can go back. We can review. And if you're still working through public school system, you're still trying to keep up. with where they are. And when you homeschool, you don't have to do that. You can take it at the pace that your child needs. And if you need to slow down, great. Or if they already know that, great, push ahead. Skip a lesson or two if you need to, and keep going so that your child keeps learning. And you don't have to keep up with everyone and all the teachers and all the things. Instead of them being in charge, I'm in charge of my school day. And I had one child who was in speech therapy for several years, and we had to work our school around that and figure out how to integrate the things we were learning with speech therapy in with school. But I was in charge of that, and I got to figure out what worked best for our family. So it's still possible, even if you have a child who needs extra services and extra things, to be able to integrate it with school, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, I almost want to sigh a sigh of relief just hearing you talk about the difference. I'm imagining the mom and the dad who are, I know how it was with my kids having homework, and you're trying to get the work done, and you got these assignments that need to be done. It has to be done by this date, and your teacher wants it done this way. And to imagine that being all their work all day, every day, of trying to please what the teacher wants and getting those requirements in. And if they don't learn it right now, there's a lot of pressure on that parent.
Right.
Because they might not pass the grade based on what the state says or the school district says. Right. This is very stressful, honestly, when I think about what that's like for a parent in homeschooling. And I can see the memes where, they're joking about the day school is free, the kids are out the door. And I understand that, but in some ways I'm sad to see that, because that's really not what homeschooling typically is. As you said, you are the one that makes that decision. But you're not flippant about it. You're not just going to not give your kids the education they need. You're very thoughtfully preparing the materials, the curriculum, the schedule for your child.
Well, and homeschool parents have the advantage of, I know exactly what my children are learning. And it's not that if a child is in traditional school, you don't know what your child is learning. It's that you're involved in a different way whenever you're homeschooling. And so I've heard several people talk about, my child is really gifted in math. And I had never seen quite how gifted they were until I was teaching throughout the day and helping them with their math. And I saw how good they were. And you're just involved at a different level. So you know exactly what your student needs, and then you can find ways to meet those needs. It doesn't have to necessarily just be me. Just because I homeschool doesn't mean I have to teach every single little thing. It just means I'm sourcing things to help me
right
teach my child what they need.
Which is a wonderful thought too. I think a lot of people think, and it's funny, although it's not, when I think about BJU Press or what they consider a box curriculum, that somehow all those parameters that come with a school education of you have to do these assignments these days and you have to do this many problems on a page, just like we're talking about with the parents who are emergency homeschooling, they're being required by the school district to do certain things, and they should do those things. They're underneath that authority for this period of time.
Right.
Just because you order materials from a company that uses materials in schools and in the home doesn't mean there's a set of rules for the parent to have to use those materials in that same way.
Right. And if it doesn't work for you, then don't use it. It's that simple. Just change it up. Do something different. Skip it. A big box curriculum is a big box of opportunities.
There you go.
And you just use the tools that you have in front of you, and sometimes you don't need all those tools.
Right, but the tools are something to use. They're not demanding to be used. They're for you to use. Right, and that's the thing. I think in the perspective of these are things for you. You have options, those opportunities. You can use them or not use them, but you're not weighted down with the guilt of having to do it a certain way. No one's prescribing a certain way for you to homeschool and use those materials. That's
right.
That's your choice. That's the beauty of homeschooling, right?
Not a checklist at that point. You don't have to meet this. You can match it to your child.
Right. And of course, every state has its own standards. We recommend HSLDA, Homeschool Legal Defense Association, to see what's required by your state. We want to be considerate of making sure that our kids don't have gaps, that they do have the education they need.
I'll stop you there and say I think that is an advantage to buying a whole curriculum, because it's made to work together. And that is probably one of my biggest concerns is, I don't want my children to miss something because I've chosen this and this and this and this and this, and then I missed something completely. And so that is an advantage.
And it's an advantage for your child, but it's also an advantage to you because you're not having to reinvent the wheel all the time. So what you did in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade for your first two, you can do for your next two. You just accommodate it to their need.
Right, exactly.
So what a relief for you. So you can actually enjoy homeschooling.
It takes away some of that worry.
So looking forward now to, Lord willing, this will be relieved in South Carolina in 2 weeks, we hope. But the new school year will start probably in August, if the Lord allows. What will homeschooling look like for you and maybe for your community, for the group of people that you interact with? How do you think that will look in the future?
I don't foresee huge changes, though I do hope that we can. One thing I've seen that I've loved is a lot of parents who have already been homeschooling coming alongside people who have never educated their children at home and being encouraging. And I think that's fantastic because we just haven't had that opportunity yet. And so now we had an opportunity. So I do foresee, hopefully, I'd love to see homeschooling grow. So there will be a lot of coming alongside, probably, new homeschoolers. And I think it will probably change the way even some of our community works together, because we've had to use technology now that we didn't use before. There have been so many Zoom meetings. It's incredible. And I think that we will probably continue to integrate that into our lives because it's so nice. You can get together in the drop of a hat if you need to. And I hope that we continue to keep that sort of tool in our tool belt now, because we weren't using it before and now we are. I think that's definitely going to be a big change for us. But I think we're all going to really appreciate our networks that we do have and probably spend more time investing in them, because we've seen how much we miss them and how much we need them.
Yeah. And from a child's point of view, what do you think your kids will think differently? I mean, obviously they're schooling as usual, but clearly it's different. Do you think that they'll be looking forward to certain things that maybe they didn't appreciate before?
Oh, yes. I think basically anytime they can see people, they're going to be thrilled now because they've sure missed it. But yeah, it's been hard for my kids too. They miss seeing their friends just like everybody else does. It's not, they're not any different than any other child. So I have a feeling once they can start to resume normal activities even with just going to church or seeing, friends in life group and those kind of things, we're not going to take that for granted, and we'll enjoy that and they'll pour a lot more effort into that too.
I think that's probably going to be the case for everybody. I think people are going to reevaluate those relationships and the things that we took for granted, at least for a little while. We're going to appreciate a lot more. So anything else you want to say to encourage maybe the mom who is homeschooling and has been homeschooling and will continue to homeschool, and then maybe the mom who sort of just got put into homeschooling, that we could encourage her moving forward?
Well, if you just got put into homeschooling, take heart. It's not always this lonely. And I would encourage somebody who is homeschooling to look for somebody who's new to teaching their children at home, and even from afar, try to encourage somebody else, because even though you feel maybe I've only done this for 1 year, I don't have a clue what I'm doing yet, you still had 125 more days than somebody else did before they started trying to educate their child at home. And even though their education might look different, because doing it through a public school is very different than homeschooling, there's still things that are the same. Figuring out how to structure your day and how to make it work for you and your lifestyle, which is different than somebody else's. And I would just encourage somebody who is already homeschooling to reach out to somebody else who is not. And if you are not a homeschooler and you're forced into it, it won't last like this forever. It will.
But you know, the percentage of people that I meet at conventions is very high that will say, I did not plan on homeschooling. In fact, Zan Tyler will tell you the same thing. I had no intention of homeschooling. In fact, I even said I won't homeschool. And now there's a very there's a very high percentage of those people who are homeschooling, and now everybody is to some degree. And so people do come to a convention with the, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know why I'm here or if I even should be. And the good news is you should be, you're already here.
Right.
So let us come alongside you. And that's where being a consultant comes in. Now you're a consultant for Homeworks. How long have you been a consultant?
Probably about 4 years now.
Why did you choose to become a consultant?
I wanted to encourage other people who were starting out in kindergarten. I wasn't going to homeschool. I told my husband that when we got married, because he was raised K through 12 homeschooling, and I said, good for you, I'm not doing that. And God stepped in, and I had always just figured I would send my kids to Christian school. And then when you get there and it's not financially possible, you reevaluate. And we decided, okay, let's try homeschooling. And it was God taking something away that I thought for sure is what we were going to do and putting something different. And it works so much better for us in our laps. And so after a couple years of homeschooling, I started telling my friends about homeschooling and how Bob Jones has helped me so much, because I'm not a teacher by trade. And I didn't know how I was going to teach a child to read. And that's where BJU Press Distance Learning really helped. It's a tool. And it doesn't mean I haven't taught my children things or even thrown the videos out the window and done it my own way. It was a tool in my tool belt that really, really helped me. And so I had a friend who worked with BJ who said, you tell a lot of people about BJU Press. Why don't you just become a consultant and sell it? You're already talking about it. Do the same thing and you get to talk to more people about it. And that's when I decided to take the plunge.
And it makes a difference to people, though, even just having the opportunity to talk right now and telling people, look, this is my story. This is what we do. There's other people just like you in the same situation, and to be able to walk alongside them and encourage them. Some people know you can order materials through us, but that's really not all you do. Once the order is placed, what does a consultant do? How are you helpful to homeschooling families after the order is placed?
Oh, I've had friends call me and say, I just got my boxes and I have no idea what to do with this stuff. It's very overwhelming when you get 4 boxes of things and you don't know what to do. So it's everything from helping people figure out how to organize it in a system that works for them and makes it less overwhelming, because when you look at it all together, it's very overwhelming. So it just comes down to organization, or sometimes it's talking about, hey, my child is really struggling with this and I don't know what to do and I've hit a roadblock, and sometimes I can help, sometimes I can't, but I can point them to somebody who can help them. And it's a part of your homeschool network is what a consultant is. And we're here to help. And if I can't help you, I'll find someone who can.
There you go.
That's a great opportunity, I think.
It is. And it's a blessing that there's 200 of you consultants and growing, and to realize that even though everyone's in a different place and homeschools a little differently, the vision is the same, which is to love your brother, to help another mom homeschool her kids. We love homeschooling, we love Christian homeschooling, and we love homeschool moms and their families, and we want them to feel successful. And that's universal across the board for our consultants. So I hope that those who are watching, if you don't have a consultant or you've never heard of this before, or you want to be part of something like this, go to our website, which is homeschoolhelp.com. On there, there's a map. You can click on the map. You can find your state. You can find someone. You can find Abby on Facebook. She's got a Facebook page. She's on the map on South Carolina. And not only these ladies available, but they're also at events. Now, of course, the events have changed this year, but typically we're in public at events with books. But one thing we've done differently this year is that we've made opportunities to do some things virtually, to be able to show you things within a book. And so if you go to the map and to an event, maybe you look at something that's in South Carolina that you would have gone to if you lived here or wherever you live. If you click on that event, there's some information on how you can see things virtually, talk to that consultant, and also get special pricing, particularly because we're not at those events this year. But on a regular year, when things are not quite this way, these consultants are at events where they can spend time one-on-one with you personally. And I think that's invaluable as well, that you're not just being sold books, but you're fellowshipping, you're learning with somebody together and building a relationship. And I think that's what we're all looking for with our consultants. So any last words of encouragement?
Hang in there. We're almost done. It's the end of the school year. You can do it.
That's right. Thank you so much for taking the extra time. I took her a little longer time than what I promised her, but I felt like it was important to know this information. And if you're already homeschooling, but you know somebody who's pondering it or is struggling, would you share this video with them and just let them know that we're here for you wherever you are right now in your homeschooling journey. And we're here to try and help you and encourage you and show you some light at the end of this tunnel, that there is joy in this. There is beauty in it. Your kids will thrive. You will love homeschooling, and there won't be, promises of every day being sunshine and unicorns and the ice cream, right? But you can make time for them.
Yes, it's fantastic, and it's 100% worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it, and we're thankful for our consultants and thankful for you, Abby. Thank you so much for taking the time. And again, you can find her on her Facebook page and also on the map, as well as our other consultants. And thank you, everybody, for your comments. It's fun to read how you know her and where you're from and what it's like to order from a consultant as well. Everybody have a wonderful day.